So we're going to do an update with fly-by-wire installer. Welcome to American Northwest Magazine and American Northwest Aviation. I'm Danny. Okay, so I've already done the update, but we've clicked in here just to show you where it is or what it looks like. We want stable. Oh, no, excuse me. Yeah, that's right. We've already installed it. So this is what it looks like after installed. It'll say install, and then you just click it, and after 5 minutes or so, it's updated. It puts everything into your community folder on Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. And we're starting up Flight Sim 2020. This flight was kind of a crazy flight. Nose wheel steering issues have plagued me throughout my experience with Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. But and this is with the Airbus A321 or 320 series. So also you need a co-pilot if you're going to hand fly this thing on a departure, because you're doing many things and you can't keep control of the aircraft very well. But you can do it. It's wild. You're not going to be able to maintain an altitude or a heading or power setting or anything while you're trying to do all these other things. So that's why it's good to use the autopilot and flight director. But instead, I have chosen to do this video without the autopilot, just to show you how difficult it is. I am a jet captain. I haven't flown in a couple of years, but anyway, I have only been flying the simulator the past 20 years, or excuse me, 2 years. The last jet I flew was the Hawker 800, and the last airliner I flew was the ERJ 170 for Republic Airlines for a very short while, and a 175. I'm going to click normal mode here. When you just turn the computer off and then start the computer back up, you get this picture or this notice to start into safe mode. But just start in normal mode. If you shut your computer down normally after using the app, you won't get that message. So it's checking for updates. We've already done the updates, so it's not going to prompt us to do any updates. You're going to get lots of pictures, or excuse me, video, lots of displays of what is in the program while it's starting. And then after this part, it's going to give you the option to start a flight or other options. I'm using a Cytec controller with a joystick, a throttle, and since we have reverse throttles, or excuse me, reverse power levers on this airplane, this power lever that I'm using on the Cytec doesn't move into a click or anything. So you have to estimate where zero thrust is. If you go back too full, it'll go into reverse thrust. So the idea is to put out the two REV amber annunciators up by the N1 gauges. As you pull the power lever back, the N1, of course, will be reduced until the REV lights come on, or annunciators. And then just push the power lever forward slightly until the enunciators go out. Meanwhile, of course, we have the parking brake on while we're doing this. The way I'm doing this video is I used OBS. I think that's what it's called, OBS. Let me see. Yes, OBS 64-bit Studio for recording the screen or the display. And I'm using Audacity to record the audio. And then I'll take this audio file and put it into the program open source for video editing. So this flight will be taking off out of Seattle directly from the runway, 16 left, and trying to maintain control while on a left downwind to join the final for 16 left ILS. Won't really be shooting the ILS, we'll just have it up and use it for guidance. Once we land, the nose wheel steering, I'll have a little surprise before landing. I've never seen this before. I must have accidentally hit failures when I was setting it up. But we had a failure and had to fix it. But anyway, the nose wheel steering makes it very difficult to touch down. I've done it before successfully, but I guess I was distracted with the landing gear issue. For those of you that need help to install or to buy the program, it's only $100 or so, a little less, a little more, from Xbox. Okay, it looks like we're here. All right. So we're going to click on World Map option. These other options, Marketplace, you can buy other aircraft. I haven't done that yet. I would like to eventually, but I sure would like to try it out before they make you buy it. There's certain activities you can do, landing challenges, bush trips. So, you know, the freestyle way of doing it is to click on World Map and actually put in your desired flight. So let's choose the airplane. I like to use the Airbus A320 because fly-by-wire has a mod for it, which I showed you, that puts makes everything work, basically. For example, I don't think you can see the electrical diagram when you hit electrical on the multifunction display in the regular Airbus 320. But when you do the modification, which puts parameters, or excuse me, puts code inside of the community folder. I should say apps, basically, inside of the community folder. And that does an update for the system. So we're going to stick with the fly-by-wire solutions airplane. KSEA is our departure, and we're going to make that our arrival as well. Make sure over here to select high or low airways. So low altitude and high altitude airways. Today we're choosing low since we're not going to be going over 5,000 feet, or specifically 18,000 for highs. We're going to choose a arrival here, but it never did get in the box because we didn't complete the initiation initialization, excuse me, of the FMS. The point of this flight today was basically just to get off the ground and get it back on the ground, without doing checklists, without programming the FMS completely. We do a small, okay, so here we go. Here's the ILS. One of the beginning points. I don't know if it's the final approach fix or not at this point, but these points didn't get in anyway. We ended up having to manually put in Heltzer, which is a fix on the ILS 16 left to SeaTac. So I'm showing here you could actually choose a gate to taxi out from, but instead we're just going to start off at runway 16, which is the default with the way we set it up. We'll start out right on the runway. It'll start the engines for us and everything. This will take 3 minutes or so before it's ready to fly. Now, the philosophy of train like you fly, fly like you train, well, definitely in a full-blown simulator, full motion, you want to do that. But this simulator, the nice thing is you can just jump in and go fly. And I think you need to just jump in and fly sometimes without all the checklists, just to give yourself confidence or experience, just knowing that you can fly the airplane without the checklists. But by no means in a professional or even a unprofessional environment, I should say an amateur environment, you should always be using that checklist. Now, there are some mental checklists you can use in case you just get too damn busy and cannot do the checklist. Make sure you use those. I'm sure you've heard of them, such as SIGAR, which is controls, instruments, gas, attitudes, and run-ups. And there's certain items you can attach to that in your memory flow, just in case you get too damn busy and you just need to fly the airplane and get the basic things done. So we're going to start off with the takeoff, and you're going to see we're going to try and maintain around 4,000 feet and around 200 to 220 knots, but you'll see we're very challenged because we're trying to do many other things, which you can't see. But I was trying to do other things, and it's just so hard to keep the airplane under good control. So we do hit a pause, which on my computer, it's the upper right hand key that says pause or break. I believe that's what it says. Yeah, pause and break. So you hit it and it pauses the aircraft, and then when you're ready you hit it again and it unpauses the aircraft. Be careful though, some things might not work. For example, if you pause and you hit flaps down, the flaps aren't going to move until you take the pause off. But it will select them so that when you take the pause off, it'll go to that position. For flaps, you can go down and use the selector, of course. But if you use the keyboard, F5 is flaps up all the way, F6 is flaps up one notch, F7 is flaps down one notch, and F8 is flaps full. Okay, ready to fly. Once you hit ready to fly, it will take you to the starting position you selected, and we selected nothing specific, so it gave us runway 16, since we said departure off of 16 left. And right now the engines are starting, or they're already started. We're checking the flight controls, and you can see I'm moving the stick left and right, and you can see the rudder and the ailerons moving. Normally the rudder would not move under those conditions, but because the nose wheel steering is hooked to the left and right, movements, you're going to get left and right nose steering. For example, you can see now, once I zoom in, you can see that's the left aileron and spoilers going up, and now the right one, and you can see the nose wheel turn right. Under normal circumstances, that doesn't happen, but in this simulator, it's set up, which you can change, to move the nose wheel when you go aileron left and right, which of course means you can't do crosswind landings with this setup. It also means it's extremely hard to control on the runway, even on the taxiway, as you'll see. By the way, at the end of this flight, you'll see we're going to use the camera, which leaves the airplane, and you can maneuver around and see the terminal and stuff like that. So we'll show you a little bit about the camera, which you hit the insert button to activate the camera. Showing you again that the thrust reversers are closed now, and right now we're in reverse, I believe. Well, we have to move it over. Okay, so yeah, we're in reverse on those. Now I'm using my, okay, so we're still in reverse there. And you can see the reverse light is out because we're up there. Now we're in reverse. Now push your little throttle on your controller forward until the reverse light goes out. And note that position. And you can see that the reverse thrust doors have been closed, or whatever we call them. Actuator, I don't know what we call them. Alright, so I'm not going to use this for the setup, but this is interactive. This iPad, it is interactive where you can do your weight and balance and performance and all of that, and it actually goes into your FMS, I believe. Checking the overhead panel. We're not going to be doing a lot of setup. We're just going to do the minimum amount to go fly. We're going to go ahead and get the APU started, because if we're doing pattern work, I'd like to have that APU going. Now in the real airplane, we might not do that because of fuel consumption, but you know, if you've got bad weather, I'm going to take off with the APU on. Same thing with landing. I'm going to turn that APU on early, unless you got a fuel issue. And again, that's under, you know, bad weather situations and stuff and such. Now you can hit Control L, and that'll turn your landing lights off, as well as some other side lights. There you go. That's Control L, Control L, Control L. Okay, so they're on for takeoff. Now there is no trim in this airplane required, because the Airbus 320 series uses computer logic to give you the correct artificial feel. So there's nothing to trim out. There's no pressure. That will get you lazy for other airplanes. Now, if you're using a control stick, of course you're not, whatever control stick you're using, I disregard that. So we hit FMGC. We're just going to do a minimum amount here. So KC to KC. I should say KSEA. And you can see we need to have a slash in between the origin and destination. So I'll put the slash in. It accepted it, but it goes to this page. Now if you return, you can see that it accepted what you put in. Oh, it was at the top of the page on that previous page also. We're not going to do any of these others. You can see it's saying the ground temperature is plus 14. Now the whole point of setting this up, for the simulator is so that your takeoff speeds will show up and other things work correctly if you initialize the whole thing. But our arrival didn't show up in here, probably because we didn't initialize it completely. Now I'm going to put a zero fuel weight that I saw on the screen earlier. Not zero fuel weight, excuse me. Gross takeoff weight and CG. I guess we're not doing that here yet. Again, I'm doing a narration after the flight. Okay, so we're going to show you the ILS for 16 left approach chart, which is current. And we saw the frequency 110.3 we're going to put in. Now if you set everything up correctly, you shouldn't have to put this in, because you can just, the approach that you put in here will be automatically set up with VHF frequencies. Course was 164. Inbound course 164. Now again, you wouldn't have to put this in if you set up completely, but we're just putting it in real quickly for reference. Inbound course for the ILS 16 left. Check the flight controls from inside now. Aileron, left aileron. You can see the right rudder coming out at you, which means the left rudder is being pushed, which is not normal, but that's the way the simulator is set up. You can change that, but it's set up so that you have no steering on the ground with that elevator. Okay, now you got the rudder back to neutral, which means the nose wheel steering should be neutral or centered. Check the elevator. Looks like it has two different elevator actuators and systems here, left and right. We do have the parking brake on. We got flaps 1. Eventually I think we have to bring that to flaps 2. Looks like we have slats 1 plus flaps 1. Now we have 20,000 pounds of fuel, and if I bring the power up to around 80 and 1, you can see it burns about 1,200 pounds per hour, maybe 8,000 pounds per hour. So we got about 3 hours of fuel. There, we're up against that reverse light, so now just push the power lever forward until the reverse light goes out. In the real airplane, you've got a hard detent. and levers to pull to unlock the reverse. Takeoff config key is pressed, and it says takeoff speed is not inserted, and predictive wind shear off. We're not going to address the predictive wind shear off, but we're going to address the takeoff speeds not inserted issue. So going to init, we really need to go to performance, PERF. Now we're going to actually put some numbers in that are a little too low after we put the gross weight and CG in, and we'll have to come back and change these to higher. We don't have any charts to calculate this, or programs to calculate the speeds, so we're just using what works from previous experience. We're going to use 29902 for QNH, and I think we've chosen a temperature of 20 because when we did this we didn't see that temperature of 14 degrees we saw before. 20 degrees C. Go around settings, nothing to do here right now. So we've got flaps 2 set there for takeoff, and right now I think we only have flaps 1. Now we're using the zero fuel weight we saw on the ICAS earlier. It doesn't like this. We're going to have to put the point in and also the slash and get a zero fuel weight CG. And looking here, you can see there's some CGs to give you an idea of what we're looking at since we don't have a book in front of us. Let's zoom in here. Or anyway, so it looks like 30.0 will work. Or maybe we choose 35.0. Okay, so ultimately we're going to end up with 114.0, I believe, 114,000 pounds. Or was it kilograms? Hey, I think this thing ought to finally changed over from kilograms to pounds. It was always in kilograms, and we chose 30.0, okay, for the CG. That should work. Now we get takeoff speeds too low, so now we're going to go in and adjust those by hitting perf, P-E-R-F. We're just going to guess. I think it's V1, the one that's triggering this message. Because when we... but we'll see. So see, we still get that speed too low, and that's because V1 is too low, I believe. So we're going to choose 125 for V1 now. We didn't get the message. Now just to check that, we're going to put a new VR in of 130. See if we get the message again, which we won't. So therefore, that's why V1 seems to be the thing that gives you the too low on the takeoff speeds. Or maybe it's all of them. We're not going to bother setting up the flight director and all of that. We just want to fly. Again, our goal is about 4,000 feet to intercept the glide slope. Excuse me, yeah, localizer and glide slope. We're using ARC. I believe we settle on 20 miles on the range. On 10 miles, you can see Seattle there. I think that's the VOR. Here's where we notice the message: flight control flap MCDU disagree, because we set flaps 2 in the FMS or MCDU, and now the message goes away when we set flap to number 2. And we're trying to look for predictive wind shear button, but can't find it. It might be overhead, but we're not going to deal with that. Okay, you can see our speeds are set now because we got a 135 in green and 140 in amber. I think that's what it was. It's too far for me to see it right now. But the amber and blue speeds at the right upper hand corner of the speed tape indicate the numbers in the FMS are in there for V1, rotate, V2. And here we go. We need to push the nose down. I can't see the numbers yet, but there we go, pushing the nose down. It's a wild nose-wheel steering situation. We barely get off before it runs off the runway. And climbing out. Positive rate, we're going to hit the G key, and that'll bring the gear up, or you can just select it if you have a co-pilot. Now we're going to turn left 180 degrees for a left downwind for runway 16 left. That's Mount Rainier to the left of your screen. So we brought the flaps up earlier, and we got the overspeed because we were having a hard time controlling the aircraft because we were doing too many things. And again, we should be using autopilot, but I want to just show you that you can fly the airplane with a minimum amount of preparation. And the whole idea is to fly the aircraft without having to do checklists and set too much up. Take off and land. So eventually I'll get this airplane under a little better control. Right now we're turning to a heading of about 340. We're just south of Renton, it looks like, along Highway 167, south of Renton. Turning to 340, trying to stay in around 200 to 220 on the speed, and above 3,000 to 5,000 on the altitude. Now, while I'm I'm doing the narration after the fact here, and the screen I'm looking at is too small for me to see some of the details. We're turning the flight director off because we don't have the autopilot or flight director or, guidance panel set up. We're not going to 15,000. We're just going to try and get it on the ground again on ILS 16 left at SeaTac. A couple of days ago, I did a flight where I took off from San Francisco, landed in Oakland, and then took off again and landed in San Jose, and was able to get it on the ground all 3 times, even with the nose steering issue. But today, as you will see, I was not successful on the landing. I needed that nose wheel steering to work a lot better. But overall, this flight was very distracting. I should say I was distracted during this flight, so my concentration on flying was not enough to get the airplane on the ground safely. Well, we got it on the ground safely, and then we had to deal with the nose wheel steering issue. If anybody needs help installing or getting a subscription and downloading Microsoft flights in 2020, I don't have experience in 2024. Put it in the comments. I'll read all the comments and respond. We're going to be bringing flaps 1 in soon, so we quit getting close to stall speed. Well, we did push the brake to pause it, and that's the brake or pause button. We're going to go direct to the first fix, or not the first fix, but a fix on the approach, which is Hauser. And we want to be about 4,000 feet. So right here, I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of the flight plan discontinuity. Actually, not yet. We're going to put that right in on top of the flight plan discontinuity, and that worked. Now we're trying to get rid of the discontinuity. Normally I'd be looking for delete button and then delete flight plan discontinuity, but couldn't figure out how to do that. Anyone know how to do that? Please put it in the comments. How do you delete the flight plan discontinuity? Oh, I think you can probably bring KSEA up to Heltzer. Or maybe put Heltzer on top of KSEA. Maybe that'll work. But anyway, after Heltzer, we're going to be on the ILS anyway, doing a visual approach with ILS backup. 16 left. Okay, and there it is. We've got Hauser there. We're not on autopilot or flight director, so we're going to have to steer the airplane ourselves. Let's reduce the range to 10 miles. And before we get to Hauser, we're going to go from ARC to LS so that we can get a full ILS readout on both the left and the right side. I should say on both the ADI, well, I forgot what to call the CDI screen. Wow, I haven't flown in 2 years. I guess I'm forgetting some terminology. I guess it's a HSI, even though it's digital. We haven't even made our turn yet. Here we go. Didn't mention we did put in slats flaps 1. I guess I did mention that earlier, because we were getting stall speed warnings on the speed tape. Now that we have the flaps in, we're going too fast. We need to slow this baby down. And by the way, this is much more difficult to fly than a real airplane, which is why you absolutely need a co-pilot on this if you're going to hand fly it. Or you need to push brake or pause and then do what you need to do and then come back.
Traffic.
Now we're going to get a lot of traffic warnings because we are not coordinating with ATC on this. We're just breaking all the rules. Okay, so we did fly through the localizer. We did switch to LS, but we did not go to LS. We got to push that LS button. But anyway, we're on LS on the rotary switch. We're below the glide slope. You can see that traffic up to the right. I think they're on 16 center. And we are now lined up for 16 right on the ILS on the glide slope. Now notice we got the landing gear down, but we have 3 reds. I brought the landing gear down as the flying pilot and didn't notice that when I did that as a first officer, I wouldn't even let go of the gear handle until I got 3 greens. We don't have a first officer. Flying over Boeing Field right now. BFI. And you can see 16 left straight ahead. And we're below the glide slope. We got flaps full, but no gear. And we got a red light telling us that. I'm going to recycle the gear, see if we can't get it down. I did push pause because I noticed I got a problem. Pause or brake. That did not fix the problem, and I believe our ICAS is telling us to do the manual gear extension, and we can look outside and the doors are open, but there's no landing gear. We must have accidentally hit the malfunction setup. I saw it, but I did not deliberately do anything on that page during my setup.
Traffic.
So in real life right now, of course, we'd come off the approach and ask for some delay vectors at 5,000 feet to work out the problem, or to extend the gear manually. Right now, I really need to bring the flaps back up to flaps 2, but since we got it paused, I don't need to do that.
Clear of conflict.
So to do the manual gear extension, make sure our speed is under control. I believe it would be under 200 knots, but I don't know.
Descend.
Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone out there in the comments. Now I'm just trying to figure out here on the flight simulator how to do this. I know you're going to crank it clockwise, but trying to actuate that, I'm figuring out right now. This is the first time I've done this. And again, I didn't intend to have to do a manual gear extension. I thought it was just going to spin by itself, but it still needs my input some more. As you can see, the wheels aren't down.
Traffic.
And now I'm trying to find the screen so I can see this easier, and it seems that I have to just be over on Control 1. By the way, I use Control 1, Control 2, Control 3, to set up my screens. So Control 1 is straight ahead from the captain's seat. And from that, you can twist down to the right and see. There we go.
Of conflict.
Nope. I gotta go back to my captain's seat view. If anyone out there uses VR with this program, let me know. I would sure love to set up VR, so I don't have to worry about all these different views. See? This is frustrating. Again, we're still on brake or pause. There we go. So that was from the captain's seat view, and now I gotta just keep rotating. that seemed to work. Now we're going to get both main gears down and locked. It's going to take a little longer for the nose gear. Or was it the left main? Let's see. Yeah, it was the left main. There, we got all three greens.
Traffic. Traffic.
Now we're not going to bother canceling the master caution or master warning just because I'm in the flight simulator
Descend.
and I want to get it on the ground.
Clear of conflict.
I'm looking for how to turn the GPWS off, so I'm just going to turn off as much of the GPWS stuff as possible so that we don't get erroneous warnings for our condition, the fact that we had to manually extend the gear.
Descend.
If anyone knows the correct switch we're supposed to turn off for this, let us know in the comments.
Climb. Climb now. Clear of conflict.
Okay, we're going to come off pause now. We're slightly below the one dot below the glide slope and left of course. And we're correcting, we're one dot low.
1000.
And left of course.
Traffic.
Correcting.
Traffic.
We didn't put our VREF speed in for landing. We'll assume somewhere around 140. Flaps are full, 3 greens. Pressurization system, I'm not going to worry about it right now. Pretend my FO took care of that. Planning checklist will pretend is complete. I used to park in that parking lot off to the left when I flew for Empire, the FedEx system. We're getting pretty low here. We're just not able to control things as well as we used to be able to. I would be surprised if we had some approach lights there.
50,
Obviously
40,
that
30.
would have been
Retard.
a go around. Now we bounce right here because we are too fast. And so it really wasn't the nose gear steering that put us off the runway. It was that bounce. So obviously in real life we would have had to go around somewhere around there, but boy, steering off that runway prevented that airplane from hitting us. That's why we steered off the runway. We knew that guy was behind us. Anyway, we're gonna taxi to a position. I think we're gonna go to the end gates, N8 or 7. But look at these doors. It looks like they're touching the ground. These gear doors. Later on we'll be looking at the wheel diagram, and it looks like you can see on the wheel system page that those doors are down. Now normally the nose gear doors should be down, but not the main landing gear doors. Those should have shut. Not with our emergency gear extension. I mean with a normal extension. The main gear doors should position closed. I never flew an Airbus in real life. The closest thing I got to was the ATR 72-600. The original Airbus before they called it Airbus. Affectionately referred to as the baby bus. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing here. Maybe I got up to get a cup of coffee or something. So we're going to taxi to the gate and do a normal shutdown, and then show you around the camera pressing the insert button on the keyboard. And then you'll be using the W to go forward, the S to go backwards, and the R for up, and the F for down, and the left and right arrows on the keyboard to rotate the camera 360 degrees from north, east, west, south, so on. So we're going to look at the flight or the wheels here, which we're already looking at. And you can see it looks like those doors are hanging open. The nose gears are open and the mains are open. And that's just the spoilers or ground spoilers activated. Those are the temperatures, brake temperatures. But so these doors are showing open. I never noticed that before. Of course, they would be showing closed in a normal situation, I believe. So we got the landing gear CIU 1 and 2 fault, predictive wind shear off, and terrain off. So clear right, clear left on 16 left, and we're going to attempt to taxi. It is such a wild taxi ahead. Again, I'm steering with the aileron left, aileron right, but this particular configuration is set up to steer the nose gear when you go left and right aileron, which again means you cannot do any crosswind takeoff and landings. Get the plane off the runway. I just cannot steer this thing. It is so difficult. Now I've separated it out to where nose steering was on 2 other switches. I might have to do that because this is difficult. If you've been to SeaTac, the north satellites and the south satellites you have to get on the train from inside the terminal. And so we will be parking at the end gates, the north satellite, which you get on the train, and the train's underground. The satellite just kind of pops up out of the ground. As you'll see, there's no connectors above ground to the terminal. I used to commute up to Bellingham on SkyWest back in the days when you could jump seat as a 135 pilot. On SkyWest they had Embraer 120s, I think they're called, the Brazilias. That was back in the early 2000s. Look out everybody, drunk pilot coming. Look out, get off my taxiway. The problem is the nose wheel just keeps turning if you turn left until it's almost, 60 degrees, and then it takes a while and you have no way of knowing how much it's turning, how fast it's turning. There's no reference inside the cockpit. Now, of course, in the normal situation, you have a tiller, you know exactly what you're doing. And this is where I give up and I say I'm going to that first gate I can see, which is the north satellite end gate. Now when we get there, we'll get the jetway hooked up and get baggage service, get the GPU set up, and get catering service, which will be out the back door, I believe. This is wild. I'm going to have to maneuver the camera or the exterior view so that I can see the nose turning. So we'll go around the front of the airplane eventually here. Whew. That guy needs to be fired. Parking brake is on. By the way, the button you push to get this view outside the airplane is the end button. and then you use the mouse and the right clicker to maneuver around. So APU is still on already. I should say still on, not already. I'm going to shut down number 2. Now we're going to check the electrical diagram, make sure we've got everything powered with the APU. We do, and the left gen. And now we can go ahead and shut down number 1. Check the electrical diagram again. Everything's powered by the APU. Engines are shut down and spun down. Now here's where we can, oh, we got the beacon off. Okay, there we go. Strobes are already on auto, but we'll just turn them off. And that's another landing light. Seatbelt signs off. Emergency lights are coming off. We're going to go ahead and turn off the oxygen. For those of you that don't know, that's just oxygen that's ready to go when you need it. And we're resetting all the GPWS switches, turning off the IRSs. Now we're going to make sure we've got external power. We don't yet, because we'd see a truck up at the front right of the airplane or a cart. In this case, it's a truck. So here we're going to ask for ground services. And we tune to Seattle ground. And now we get all our ground services available. Of course, this doesn't happen in the real airplane. Your company does this stuff. So we got the jetway coming over. Someone opening up the door. Oh, look how the jetway doesn't actually attach to the terminal. I think I found that out later when I was wandering around with the camera. Okay, so we requested everything except for catering. We got to come back and click that again. So baggage doors opening. Now we've got the auxiliary power cart there on that truck. Checking the doors now, you can see the cabin door on the left is open, the cargo door is open, but the catering door in the back is not open. Catering door might actually be the one in the front, but in this case we see that the catering happens at the back door. Catering resupply. And then the end comes to the end of the sentence when you've already requested it. So obviously we didn't. Now the rear door is open and the catering truck's coming. And external power is available. We've turned it on or connected it up now and turning off the APU. I should have checked to make sure we had external power before by looking at the electrical diagram. We can see the APU shutting down. Temperature's good, flaps open. Now let's take a look at the electrical panel, which we should have done before we took that step. And external power is powering everything. And we can see that the wheels are chalked. So the parking brake could come off at this point. But we're going to go ahead and switch over to using the external camera by hitting the insert button. And again, using the the W, R, S, and F for left, right, and so for forward and backward, up and down. And then the left and right arrow on the number pad to rotate the camera 360 degrees along the horizon. We need to set the speed down, but we accidentally set it to 0 here before, and so nothing was working on the camera. So now we've got a little bit of speed on these drone rotation and drone speed. So now the camera should start to move. There we go. Now we're going to go take a look inside the entrance at the jetway. If you have the camera on regular speed, it'll just blast right through that, which is why you got to go and slow it down. Now we're inside the forward galley area. That's the cockpit curtain. Now I got rotate turned too slow of a speed, so we need to go change the camera rotation speed. That's the main entry door and going into the jetway. And this is the curtain to the cabin. Alright, so select camera and rotation speed. 5's not enough. That's better. Okay, now there is no cabin here. It's just wings and parts. You can buy on some airplanes a full interior, I think, in the aftermarket option. We forgot to go up and look at the cockpit. There's the cargo area. I think that's an aft cargo, or maybe not, because that's not where the cargo door is. Okay, now we're going to go into the jetway, and now we can see that it is discontinued. After this part of it, you can see we'll go out, and we're just going to be out in right here. Yeah, there's no more jetway. Doesn't lead all the way to the terminal, see? And then once you get in the terminal, there's nothing there. Again, you can buy, and in some cases there might be some free add-ons to where you got terminals and people in there doing stuff, and restaurants. And looking north at the top of the tower there, you can see Mount Baker. I'm currently only 14 miles away from that mountain in Maple Falls, Washington. Looking, there's Mount Rainier.